Tina's the genius today. Love you, want you, need you. Okay, I can't see Zoom anymore. It's redirecting to Facebook.
It's showing me live on Facebook. So
great. Okay, so I can just minimize this or something. All right, awesome. Yay! Give yourselves a hand and give Miss Tina Rose Heuerman a huge hand, because without her, I couldn't have done this. Welcome to our live with Dr. Ivy Pruse. Hopefully you're streaming either live on Facebook or you're on this Zoom with us right now. And throughout the week, we have been covering how to best prepare your body for a detox. Now, Dr. Ivy's been posting tips in the group throughout the week, as well as we had an incredible call last night. She was on fire, you guys, and she was just telling us all about the liver, the amazing thing the liver is, how it performs over 500 functions, and all the good it does for our bodies, and why we need to support that. So as the week went on, we had a few questions come in. So I am, first of all, going to introduce you to Dr. Ivy Pruse. She's a very, very knowledgeable lady. We're so blessed to have her. And I'm going to let her kind of, if you want to do a little summary, maybe a quickie of what you did last night for those who weren't on the call. And then I will let you know what questions are coming in, as well as I have printed some out that came out through the week. So I'm going to turn it over to you, love.
Okay, well, thank you guys. I'm very excited to be doing this with you guys this afternoon. Last night our call was great, although we had a little bit of technical difficulties also last night, just like today, but we ran with it and we got through it. Basically, last night's little recap call, if you haven't been able to get on the replay, we just basically talked about some vital things that the liver does. It's vital in over 500 processes of the body. It has a lot to do storing nutrients for us, producing things like cholesterol and albumin, working with our thyroid. And again, before I actually continue with that, I just want to say I'm Ivy Pruse, Dr. Ivy Pruse. I'm a double board certified naturopathic doctor. And although I am not your practitioner, please, before you make any decisions to move forward with anything, you clear that with the right people. Okay, so basically we just went over the liver and how we actually need to earn our detox. This isn't something that you just jump into and hope for the best results. If you want to get the best results, the best way is to actually prepare yourself for a detox properly. And I've been posting some tips on how we can do that. We can make sure that we have good bowel movements daily on a regular basis. Your colon is the dump site for your body. And so if it's not empty, when you jump into this detox and we start pulling toxins out of certain places, the dump site that it's supposed to be routed to, if there's no room in there for it because we've not been having bodily daily movement, we've not been moving our bodies on a regular basis, the colon is a muscle and it functions like such. And if we don't work our colon as a muscle, then the colon actually does forget to use itself the way that it should. It doesn't give you the peristaltic action in the GI motility and things of that nature. So a big thing is you want to make sure that you've got that colon open and cleared out so that when you jump into this detox, all of those toxic materials and those toxic elements have a place to go, because what you don't want is you don't want recirculation, right? So what we've been covering this past week is just making sure you're out in the sunshine, brisk walking or hiking for 20 to 25 minutes a day. You can start with 15 minutes a day and then move up every couple of days as long as you feel good. Don't ever think you have to push through something. If you're in some kind of discomfort, don't push through that, then stop and see if you can feel better the next day and try at it again the next day. But basically that's where we've been going and where we're at today, and just basically trying to get ourselves in that great place so that we can get the best out of cleansing like this, the best out of a liver detox. Because what I hope this does for you, I hope this detoxes are great and they're wonderful jump starts. And so I hope that this is a great jump start to you into thinking of internal cleanliness as a mentality, right? Not just thinking that you can jump into so many detoxes and not change your style of life and not change your quality of life and things that you should be doing for yourself. So hopefully this is a jump start for everyone into the mentality of longevity, into the mentality of just living a healthy life, because actually living a healthy life and eating nutrient dense foods actually does a lot of detoxification for you on a regular basis. But these things like this, they're a great jump start for those who haven't had that kind of lifestyle.
This is all such great advice too, Ivy, because I remember when I first started learning about the benefits of water fasting, literally 20 years ago. And I just jumped into a water fast, which actually is the fastest way to detox. I mean, it's hardcore with nothing. And I got so sick. I was throwing out bile, basic
Yes.
poison that was coming up. But I remember feeling horrible. So it is good to be a little more gentle on your body. And so I'm so glad you're advising us on that. Okay. Are you ready for your first question?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So the first question, and I don't have who submitted this because I forgot to copy their name, but it says the purge instructions say several times a day for the purge. And what does that really mean? And how long should someone continuously use before taking a break and then repeating it if needed? So I know you can't give medical advice. That's the first thing I want to make sure. But go ahead and how would you respond to that?
Okay, so when we talk about the purge and any kind of dosing or instructions that comes with a detox type of item, you just need to listen to your body, okay? Because I'm not sure where everyone's coming from. I'm not really sure. It's obviously impossible to know where everyone is. Are you getting out in the sunshine 25 minutes a day? Are you moving your body on a regular basis? Can you healthily go to the bathroom 2 times a day without any straining or discomfort or anything like that? So basically, those are recommendations for a very effective result. But when you start it, if once a day you feel good on that and you try twice a day and you begin to not feel so well, then I would stay where you feel best at. So if it were me, and if it were any of my adult friends or family members doing this very thing, this is exactly what I would say. I would listen to how I feel taking it once a day. I would see if I can get benefits from twice a day while I'm still able to function, then I'm going to do that. You want to take as close to the recommended dose as you can while you feel good. If you feel good on the recommended dose and you can still do your daily functions, then move forward. If you don't feel well when you get to twice a day, then stay at once a day and still be able to live your life. Your body's telling you that more than once a day may be too much. Okay. And that may be that you need more bodily movement. It may be that you need to go to the bathroom effectively, 1 to 2 times a day. So it may mean a couple of different things depending on the person. And so that's what I would say as far as the dosing goes with that. And I know there was a part B to this question, so to speak. Landy, could you remind me what the part B kind of was?
It basically was just, is someone okay to take it continuously or should they take breaks in between?
Okay, so if someone should do this continually, so if you just do one round of it, that is a great idea. Again, we're hoping that this is like a jump start for you because you don't want to be in this proverbial cycle of a different detox every month, right? You want this to be a jump start for you to change your mindset, to make sure that you're providing on a daily basis what your body's daily needs are. So if you go through one round of this detox, maybe take a couple weeks off. Depending if you've never had a cleanse in your life, then a second round would definitely be beneficial. Again, just make sure, and hopefully that second time you'll feel and do much better to maybe where you can get closest to the recommended dose that they recommend. So absolutely, if this particular cleanse is something you've never done in your life, a second round would be beneficial, absolutely.
Awesome. Because I know we talked about the whole parasitic life cycle, and I know we're going to get into that more next week on the call. But you know how it takes a series of detoxes, right? To like actually get all the parasites.
Right, right.
So
So for the parasites, was that regarding the parasites or for the
yeah,
liver?
they were asking about the, for some reason it was about the purge, the product, the purge. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
Okay. But that's still okay because the
I'm the
answer still
interviewer.
stands. No, no, no. It's okay. The answer still stands. But when we talk about something like parasites, which we're going to get into next week, when we talk about something like that, sometimes a 90-day cycle is needed for that. Okay. Depending again where you are, did you just come back from a foreign country? Have you had contaminated foods? And all kinds of things like that. So absolutely, when we talk about parasites, more times than not, we're going to be looking at a 90-day kind of treatment plan, depending on how severe it is. You can get away with a 60-day, doing the round 2 times, because remember, everybody is not as bad off as other people are. So everybody's not the same. For some people, 30 days does great. For some people, 60 days. And then for some people, I would say the most severe cases, you're looking at 90 days and then possibly revisiting it after taking a little break after that. I lost you. I don't hear you.
Oh, you know
Okay.
what? I think I muted myself instead of unmuted myself.
Okay. There you are.
Today's a show for sure. So this question, in a way, sort of piggybacks off the other one. It's from Chelsea. It says, I would like to know, how long do you take the fulvic? Every day, indefinitely, or for a week, for a month? Again, it's a fulvic
Okay.
question, but
Well, it's my favorite thing because Fulvic and I were like this. So I get that question actually a lot. And the thing is that some supplements are needed for life, and then some of supplements are just needed for short term. When I think of something like fulvic, because it's so rich in minerals and such a diversity and so multifaceted in actually what it does, for me, that's something for life. We are, as a nation, we're already just naturally deficient in minerals. So something like fulvic acid, it's not going to be something that's short term. Now, here's what I do say to people. My weeks are very, very crammed and busy. I'm a homeschooling mother to 5, and then I run my practice and then my businesses. And so my weeks are kind of slammed, and I need that support. My weekends are purposely scheduled to be very relaxing, and I find that I don't have to take my supplements on the weekend. So while something for me is lifelong, I find that I don't have the need for it on the weekends. My body's requirements are different on the weekends because it's not so high stress, high anxiety, meeting deadlines, having appointments, sending agreements, and building contracts, and all kinds of things like that. I build my weekends and I schedule my weekends to be very stress free. And when my body is stress free, its needs are lowered. So while this is going to be lifelong for me, there are times during the week, and on the weekends where, for example, I won't take it. Or there are times where I have a very leisure planned week when I'm like looking a month in advance and I see what I have on my calendar. Those times that are more low key, my body's needs are different. Your body's needs change on a regular basis. Your biochemical needs that you had this morning are not the same this end in the afternoon, and your needs will not be the same this evening. So the more we begin to pay attention to what we need and what makes our body feel good at certain times, we will be able to gauge that better. So I hope that answers your question. Although something is long term, it doesn't, it won't be the same every week for me. Usually I'm perfect with an eighth of a teaspoon, and then on the weekends, I'm really great just relaxing and not feeling the need that I'm missing one of these supplements because my body's doing just fine.
that makes total sense. And that question was actually from Cami Hain. The next question is from Chelsea, and her comment is, some herbs should not be used more than 2 weeks at a time without taking a break. So is the purge tonic okay to take long term, or should there be a break in between? And I think you kind of already answered that. So that was that question. So you already answered that. So
Yeah,
unless you want to, do you want to add anything to that? about
Um,
the herbs?
no, we're really gonna target this parasitic topic next week. And so yeah, we'll cover that next week.
Sounds good. Okay. So Kathleen Emmons as asking, when doing the liver and or the parasite cleanse, are we still using our regular vitamins and supplements? That's a really good question.
That's a wonderful question, and it's impossible for me to know what everybody's regular supplementation is. If you're talking about things like your B vitamins, or a multivitamin, or like, my favorite complete powder that I put in my smoothies on a regular basis, when I'm doing detoxing, if we're talking about the liver detox, I'm still having my smoothie with my complete in it. I'm still having, my B vitamins. Um, so ideally, yes, but then again, I don't know what the person's regimen is. I mean, sometimes some people say they take supplements and their list is like 50 long, and I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. I try to keep it as minimal as possible, but when I'm doing cleanses, I still maintain those vital supplements that I need. So my fulvic is still part of my life. My V vitamins are still part of my life. My protein powder and my smoothies are still part of my life. So yes, I don't give any of that up just because I decided to go into my liver detox.
That makes sense. But if you're taking like a lot of other stuff, everything does have to go through your liver, right? So,
Yeah, so you want to um trim the fat down, and you want to keep it down to the most minimal basic vital things. And I know that I need my fulvic on a daily basis. I need my protein in my smoothies on a daily basis. And so I could sacrifice my B vitamins unless I feel the loss of them and say, "Oh, I'm going to add them back in." But ideally, yes, if your supplement list is about 50 long, where it trails like the longest receipt you've ever seen, you might want to, eliminate some herbs or all herbs and just keep those few vital ones for you in your life while you're doing something like that.
awesome. And I see there's 25 comments on our live, but I can only see 4. So I'm not sure what the questions are. If somebody can see the questions, if there's any coming in, if you will just type them in the, I guess, here on the Zoom, then we'll get to them. For some reason, Facebook's crazy and I cannot see the questions. So,
Okay.
so the next question is the liver cleanse done alongside the parasite cleanse or separately? And if separately, does it help to do one before the other? That's the next question.
Yes, absolutely. You're going to hear, I think you can talk to, 10 different practitioners in a room and you're going to get 10 different answers. And my best answer is that I always err on the side of caution. I don't ever do more than one targeted body area at a time. Um, and that falls into the next part B of this question, that absolutely, um, we like to clean from top to bottom. Okay, so there's an order in which we cleanse. And so, when you think of in your mind top to bottom, um, the only thing that's out of order is the colon. It's absolutely at the dead part bottom, but it has to be part treated as part at the top. So between your lymph and your colon, and then you can move into your liver and your kidneys. So I don't ever target more than one area at a time. And then on top of that, parasites come at the end. So absolutely. So first clean from top to bottom, and then you leave your parasite detox for the end and finish up that way.
Awesome. And that's what we're trying to do here, of course. I see a couple of questions that are coming in the chat. So someone's asking, as far as going to the bathroom, can you go too much? Because I know, and I had one customer this week for sure, and I think I might know who this question is coming from actually, because she was taking the purge and the fulvic together, and she was going to the bathroom too much. So
Okay.
the question
So
was, how can you go too much when you're cleansing? Are you just supposed to look at it like, man, I'm just really getting rid of stuff and purging and detoxing, or should you be concerned if you're going too much?
okay. Can you go too much? That depends. can you go comfortably all those times that you're going? If you're starting to get into the runs, okay, that's too much. If you're starting to get into the runs, then you might maybe want to mitigate that by having a banana or having 2 capsules of activated charcoal to kind of help bind those things back up. But if you're going 3 times, 4 times a day, and it's easy to go, it's smooth, there's no trouble, it's put together, and it's not diarrhea, that's great. The problem and the problem occurs when, now you're just straight water. We don't want that, right? Because you're not actually losing water. What you're losing are electrolytes. And so you begin to get a little bit weak and stuff like that. And so you'd replenish the electrolytes with, say, a 1/4 teaspoon dissolved of pure sea salt or dirty salt, which, has all your electrolytes in them in a small amount of water, and you can remedy that. So if you're having straight water or straight runs several times a day, yes, that's too much. Even one time, then cut back on the dose. Cut back on the dose and take fulvic, 30 minutes before or after you take, what was she taking?
She was taking she didn't know. So she was taking like the fulvic and the purge together. She was taking them both. And I don't know if it was just too much
Yeah.
detox because she started
Okay. Yeah, so then just take fulvic 30 minutes before or after you take something else. So just don't take it so close in proximity together, because we know fulvic behaves as a driver. So fulvic really, really pushes the mechanisms of getting things into our cells and out of them as well. So if it's, such an effective driver, then, give it a 30-minute or an hour spacing. Or if you really want to err on the side of caution, you want to, maybe say you take fulvic first thing in the morning and then you continue on with the purge later on throughout the day. Or you can start with the purge first thing in the morning and then, by the afternoon after lunchtime, have your fulvic then. And so you give it, a lot of time in between, and you shouldn't see that.
Okay, awesome. Well, that is such helpful information, and people need to know this because, if they need to space it out, and that's going to help,
Yeah.
that's good to know. We have another question coming in on the Facebook Live that says, "Can fulvic cause nausea or ill feeling?"
I have not come across that. I have not come across that in anything that I scoured PubMed with. If something is doing that to you, it just may be too much. And it doesn't matter what it is. Does fulvic typically do that? Not if it's at the right dose for the person. And all of us, we're all going to need different amounts. And so everybody's place and where they're at right now, we're all different. And so, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon might have been too much. So you cut down to an eighth. Sometimes for some, an eighth might be too much. So you cut down to a 16th. You just half it until you find your sweet spot, because the name of the game is slow and steady. The name of the game is longevity. As long as you can, live your life and function on a normal basis, you're going to have better chances of seeing something like this through, seeing a detoxification through, seeing your liver detox through to the end, or any kind of thing you want to put your body through for benefits. Slow and steady is going to win the race for you all the time.
Yeah, awesome. So probably if that person did feel nauseous, it would be because they probably took a little too much for their body and it threw them into too much detox.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have a comment here in the chat on the Zoom that says, and it's from Jody. It says, "Since fulvic is the foundation before we should be taking other vitamins, I have left off my supplements while starting on the fulvic. Should I be taking both my fulvic and my supplements?"
It depends what your supplements are. You don't want to double up what you're doing because one source is fine. So you need to make the decision that if fulvic encompasses anything that you're doing, like if you're taking minerals, if you're taking a prebiotic, there's a lot of things that fulvic can knock out for you, and just have it in that one source. And those things are going to be your electrolytes, your minerals, your prebiotics, selenium, with the caveat that if you're a person that you're dealing with any hypo or hyperthyroidism or Hashimoto's and you're on selenium for extra support for your thyroid, I wouldn't say eliminate that, but you've got to know what is in your regimen that is overlapping so that you can feel bad on having too much of certain minerals, and you can feel bad on having too much of certain, you know, any nutritional element when you're overlapping. So we want our supplements. I like my supplements to not overlap. I like all of my supplements to be very individualized, very targeted. I really like a small doable regimen, and I do this for my clients as well because, you know, it's daunting if you open up a cabinet and there's 70 bottles of stuff you have to take, even if they're herbs and all these good things. And so look at what your supplements are and see if they are overlapping, because fulvic can knock out some things. You know, you will probably do well by keeping a B supplement if that's part of your regimen, because fulvic doesn't really target the B family complex really strongly, the way that it targets minerals and prebiotics and things of that nature, amino acids and stuff. So you would have to look, but the answer is you don't want to overlap. So try to get as much doubling out of the way.
Awesome. So, and I know you love the trilogy, and the trilogy has tons of B and C and just everything. It's so amazing. So do you take your fulvic earlier in the day and then take the trilogy after, like, or do you do the trilogy first and then the fulvic?
So for me personally, when I wake up every day, I start my day off with my fulvic. 3 days a week with my fulvic, I'm taking also fermented garlic. So I will have my garlic first. I'll have my fulvic dissolving in water. I like to give it about 10 minutes. And then I am chewing up my garlic, doing things for my kids, and I go back to it 10 minutes later because I wanted to really drive the garlic to bust any biofilms, and it's also anti-parasitic as well. And so then I will take my fulvic. Then after lunchtime is when I get my little cup with pineapple juice, and I'm putting in there Mind, Soul, Nourish. I'm putting those in there, and I'm taking those after lunch. And so that's pretty much kind of like my regimen, minus a couple of very individualized things for me and my body. But that's basically how I start my day. That's basically what every day of my life looks like. Starting my day with fulvic in the morning, first thing. And then after lunch, I'm doing my Nourish, my Soul, Mind, and then my Complete is in my smoothie. I have that every day. I make a gut-loving smoothie for me and my family, and there's 7 of us. And so that is my day. That's what every day for me looks like. My protein gut-loving smoothie, my Nourish, Soul, Mind in the afternoon after lunch, and then my fulvic with my fermented garlic first thing in the morning.
Well, whatever you're doing, it's working because you're looking amazing.
I try.
So I had a comment. We know that fulvic is more of a bright orange color, and then the humic is the black or darker color. And there was a question, and you may not, I'm not sure if you'd know this, but Dan is asking, he says the fulvic drops does not get as dark as the 1/8 of a teaspoon powder. And he's just asking, are they the same dose? And I believe he's probably asking is the percentage, and I don't know what powder he's referring to, so I don't even know if you could answer that, but I would think that the darker it is, the more humic it has, because humic is dark.
So here's the thing, is that there's a little bit of difficulty. I've been asked this a lot too. The thing with our liquid fulvic, I'm not able to quantify how much of that liquid fulvic equals 1/8 of a teaspoon for me. So when I say I get like a little 8-ounce mason jar glass, I actually only put 6 ounces of water in there, and then I put 1/8 of a teaspoon. I don't know in 6 ounces of water how much of the liquid fulvic I would have to put in there to make it equal to 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm sure that if I find out what that equal amount is, my water would be as equally black as if I had just put in my pure 1/8 of a teaspoon of powder. So it's just a matter of figuring out, and with the mathematical calculations and identifying how much of this liquid fulvic of our 4-ounce bottle does it take to make 1/8 of a teaspoon. And that's how you're going to get your answer and see if it's as dark as that, because it's a matter of finding out how much equivalent in that liquid fulvic bottle is going to get you to an eighth of a teaspoon, because that one is already, pre-mixed. And so we'd have to probably get some help with customer support from that.
Okay, cool. And I know I can only take, on the days I've taken 20 drops of the fulvic, I was up almost all the night. It gave me so much energy. I felt great.
Yeah.
I woke up fine, but I just don't sleep.
Right.
So I had to do like 10 drops or anywhere from, I'm trying to find my sweet spot between 5 and 10 drops of liquid fulvic because it's so much energy. I mean, it's like energy I've never felt before. So, okay. I have another question here. My aunt has ascites. I had a chicken that had this actually, where they get water on the liver, and she has to actually have it drained. Will a detox help, like a liver detox, or is she too far along? That's the question. And I know we can't do medical advice.
This is,
remind everybody.
I know. So this really would fall under medical advice, because, and I'll tell you the honest truth. If she were my patient, I would have to investigate a lot more things before I could come to the conclusion that something like this would be okay for her, or that she could handle it in an okay fashion. There are a lot of variables at play that I don't know. And so it would be hard to give an answer. But if she were my patient and I were her care provider, there would be some other things that I would have to evaluate, look at some labs and stuff and make sure that she could tolerate something like this. Because we don't want her to end up or fare out worse than what she is now. Because if this is something that she's got to get drained, there's quite a bit more at play here.
Okay, we're not frozen, are we? Okay, are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, awesome answers. Thank you so much. Oops, hold on. Make sure that she could tolerate something. I got to mute this because we don't. That's you live on Facebook.
Okay.
We're having all kinds of fun today. Okay, I was trying to look at the comments because there's 37 comments and I can't see. I don't know why. So let me look in the chat here and see if we have anything else. Thank you so much, Ivy, again, for taking time just to, make sure that everybody's questions are answered. I know how important, safety is to you as a doctor, as a holistic, naturopath. So, I really appreciate you doing this for our team, for our group. And I'm looking if, Tina, if anybody sees any more questions in the actual fulvic group, I cannot see the comments. I don't know why. So, let me know. If not, we may be done.
Okay.
It's great because this was, I don't know how long it was. What, maybe 30 minutes, half hour. And that's kind of what we were thinking, just answer a question. Oh, there is a question here that you were mentioning mind and soul, but do you use the body as well? And I think you were just kind of,
Yes, I use the body as well. When I have a really good workout regimen, I tend to add in the body because the body gives me a lot of energy. And so I need to expend that somewhere. And if I know, for example, this week I can't get to the gym, then body's not going to be in my regimen for this week. But when I pick back up next week and when I'm, doing my hiking and all this stuff and all of that, then for sure I don't miss body at all. I make sure I put it in there because I don't want to miss that. But when I'm having kind of a low-key week, that would be the only reason where I take a break from body, because it actually helps me be more focused and more longevity for my workout. So if I were to burn out after 30 minutes, making sure that I had body before that would actually be able to pump me through the full 45. And that's really what I want. I want to have that longevity. So I can't not have that in my exercise regimen life. But like I said, with 5 kids and everything, life is very crazy. So my weeks don't always look the same. And so when I can't get a workout in that week, then I'm making sure I'm not taking body because there's no way for me to expend that extra energy. But when I see my following week and I've got, 4 days scheduled to be at the gym or climb up the mountain and all that stuff, then body is pretty much with me every day that I do that.
Yeah, it is strong. I mean, that 10,000 parts per million of beetroot nitrate. And I noticed too, it's great before a workout. Stamina is just, whether you're lifting or running or anything, the stamina is it's crazy.
Yes.
The body's amazing. So yes, she does take body. Help, let's see here. Help you with your, if you have low blood levels, can this help? Can what help? If you have low blood levels of what, and can help with what? I need more specifics on that one. How does the iron work for bioavailability for anemia? All of our, the angstrom iron, do you want to comment on that? How does it work if someone's anemic?
How does anemic it? So, the thing about that, when I look at anemic iron panels and stuff like that, or, hereditary hemochromatosis where they're storing too much iron, that is an issue with bioavailable copper. So I always err on the side of trying to fix it first than just trying to add in iron. I want to make sure that we have our bioavailable copper in place. So getting that from, fresh sauteed liver, whether it's beef liver, chicken liver, turkey liver, so that you get all of that, all of the B family, plus the bioavailable copper that's really going to pump that iron up and then take it where it needs to go. So for me, I get more effect that way. But everybody's different. Iron can, it depends on the person. I wouldn't give somebody that struggles to go to the bathroom iron. So if you're having trouble going to the bathroom and those moments in the bathroom are not comfortable, then you have to find another way, because iron may heighten that, right? And so how many of us here are moms that have been pregnant several times and they say to you, oh, here's this iron supplement, and then you're like, it's the worst part of your life, right? So if the person is already having difficulty, yes, I know the iron is an issue, but if they're having difficulty in the bathroom and having comfortable moments in the bathroom, you have to go at it a different way. And so for me, it's making sure that bioavailable copper is in that person's life. And when I've exhausted all avenues, then and only then will I take a look at additional iron to maybe add to that person's life.
Awesome. And I think they were asking probably about our angstrom, of course, which bypasses digestion. And that's one thing that's incredible about it, because it will go into the cell where you need it. How do you feel about cooking? This is just something I thought of when you were talking about the copper.
Yes.
You have a copper cookware. Is that a good idea to use occasionally?
That's great. Copper cookware is great, and just like cast iron is great also. But what we need to understand is that it's just, we might get some extra copper in our food with that heated up vessel that we're cooking the food in, or like iron in the cast iron, we might get a little extra iron. You know, but that's neither here nor there, because it's not something that's bioavailable iron or bioavailable copper that would kind of be something your body recognizes, because we don't recognize things come from, stainless steel pots and mechanisms from, copper cookware or cast iron. We see the iron and the copper, but the bioavailable iron and copper is going to come from sources like, fresh liver and things like that. So it's neither here nor there. It's not that it's detrimental, but it's not that it's going to increase your life and better your life because now you have extra iron in your food. So that's kind of how I think about that.
That's a great, great answer. Okay. Let me just double check and then we'll wrap this up. I can only see 4 comments on the Facebook, so that's fun. We can always go back to, Ivy can go back maybe at her leisure and see if there's any comments in there that we missed. Yes. and throw an answer up there. Handed me the vitamin C with it and said, you're going to need this. Okay, perfect. Yeah, exactly. Where they're talking about how we wish we had the angstrom iron when we were pregnant instead of because it constipated us so bad, especially with the estrogen levels, and it was crazy. So guys, I think that is everything. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your questions and your patience with our technical difficulties that we were having today. I hope you guys all have an amazing Memorial Day weekend. And thank you, Dr. Ivy. Again, we're so blessed to have you and thankful for your knowledge and appreciate you giving up your time today to help us.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
June 3rd, liver cleanse. Don't forget, Be There, Be Square. We are doing that in the HBN fulvic and detox group. So be sure if you're not in that group that you get an invite from whoever invited you to this call and get all the information you need about that liver cleanse. I'm so excited. I need it. I'm ready. So thank you again. And You guys have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivy. Bye.